Yes, I did watch the Batman trailer. In fact, I watched it just before we came on to do this podcast, just in case we wanted to talk about it. What were your initial thoughts? Are you excited about
No.
the idea of a new Batman movie?
No. No, like it's funny. I watched it this morning and then I showed it to Jem. Well, my first thoughts were like, this looks like Seven. This looks like if David Fincher in 1996 had made a Batman movie, I imagine this is what he would have made. Which is fine. Like, I like Nirvana. I like David Fincher. All the references are fine. But I showed it to Jem and I think she summed up how I felt. She was like, oh yeah, it would be great if this was for an original idea. And I was like, yeah, I think that's the kind of point. Is that it had all the bells and whistles and stuff, but I was not excited by it. I felt like I've seen it before. In the same way that Joker felt like it was, let's take all the best bits from those 70s kind of films, Scorsese films. This feels like, oh, let's take all the best bit from the late 90s and we'll make that. My other issue is Robert Pattinson as Batman, which seems crazy because my issue with him is I just am like, I don't find him intimidating in the slightest. And it's crazy because like Michael Keaton was Batman and, you know, he was Mr. Mum. Yet somehow I think that, oh no, I can sort of buy him being crazy enough to wear a batsuit. But I don't know, there's something about him that I'm like, I can't see him being unhinged. Christian Bale, 100%. Could see him being unhinged. Ben Affleck, yeah, he looks like a roided out Batman bro. But I'm just not buying the bat and bat.
Yeah, like you look at a guy who played a vampire famously in a whole bunch of movies and go, I just can't associate with him with bats in any way. This man.
No,
I know what you mean, but you haven't seen Tenet, right?
No, I haven't seen Tenet.
He's so good in Tenet, not playing an intimidatory character, but just like so good in that movie that it makes you think he could do anything. Like it's one of those performances where you're like, yeah, I just want to see what you do with this because I now think you're a really good actor.
I think he's a good actor. I've seen him in stuff that I really like The Rover and stuff. But it's just more, I don't know. I think to play Batman, you either seem to have to be unhinged, like, you know, George Clooney and Val Kilmer aside. You got to have that kind of crazy that Michael Keaton has, or you've got to have that intensity that Christian Bale has. And I don't know. I haven't seen that in Robert Pattinson. I think he plays.
We haven't seen it in this trailer.
That's true,
right? I don't think that. Like, I think he could play both of those things, but there's nothing from these the teaser and the trailer to indicate. Like, they didn't show us enough of that or any of that really. Like, you know,
yeah.
Like you see a little of him being deranged, you know, kind of like screaming at whoever you assume is maybe the Riddler through the screen or whatever. Like, you know, there's moments where you're like, oh yeah, that's like him being like deranged Batman, but you don't see, you know, any of that enigmatic side or whatever that other side wouldn't necessarily be of him.
Kind of. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the other thing I would say, and I did put something on Twitter, is there's a scene which is great for a trailer where he's coming down a hallway and there's two guys with machine guns and they're just like blasting him with machine guns and he takes them out. And I'm like, but part of the appeal of Batman is that he's not superpowered, you know, that he's had to hone his body and train his ninjutsu skills to a point where he can outsmart and use stealth and he can be brutal when he wants to, but he's not going to walk headfirst into gunfire. That seems like a real dumb approach. And if you give him this like bulletproof suit, then I don't know. I think you take away a very compelling element of Batman.
Okay, so here's what I would say about that. I don't have as much of a problem with the suit because he's always had various forms of armor, right? Mm-hmm. But I absolutely agree with you on his tactics.
Yeah.
Because, like, how does he know they're not going to shoot him in the face?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have, like, a Ned Kelly hat on, like, right? Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. Like, yes, he's got body armor on, but the way that he's going down that corridor is as if he's impervious to being shot. Whereas if they just aimed up about 10 centimeters, they would have murdered Batman, and that's the end of the movie.
And you could also understand if he was walking straight at them and they were firing like single shot revolver or a handgun, but they're spraying wildly with a machine gun.
You could have your eye out on a ricochet, Batman.
Just drenching. Because there's a similar scene in The Dark Knight Rises where it doesn't attack.
I mean, even put your armor up in front of your eyes at the very least, you know?
I mean, look, I was watching it on my iPhone. Maybe he was, but I couldn't make it out that well. But there's that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where they're going into Bane's lair with him and Catwoman, and he does that weird sort of like zigzaggy thing where he's hard to shoot, and it's like, well, that makes sense. He's a ninja. He sticks to the shadows. He's going to make it hard for you to hit him. But this one was kind of like, come at me, bro. Like I'm just going to walk. I'm going to walk like just headlong into...
Face first. I'm going to unprotected face first. Beautiful, unprotected face first.